Hi, welcome to Scene. I'm so glad you could join us. When you have a chance, say something really nice to Max, who is working behind the scenes all alone today, and to Dale, who's out there working behind the scenes all alone, the resident genius of cable TV in East Texas. And when you're out and about, go downtown to Shannon's Beading Basket, where they can make all sorts of fascinating things: jewels, trinkets, baubles, necklaces, bracelets, earrings, whatever you need. They'll tell the nice folks at Shannon's that Jan sent you. And while you're at Shannon's, go look around the store. It's also the place of the Artists Gallery, where there is one-of-a-kind original art for your one-of-a-kind original home. Can't do better than that. Tell them Jan sent you. And now, you know, when you watch Scene, we have the most fascinating, interesting, talented people in East Texas come right into your home to visit with you. Today, please welcome an incredible photographer, Betty Green Northcutt. Betty, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jan. I appreciate it.
You came a long way, all the way from Lindale.
Beckville.
Beckville, wow.
Panola County.
Panola, well, I'm so glad you came. And
it's just a hop and a skip.
For you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when I can hop and skip.
When you can hop and skip. Now, you are doing some fascinating photographs. I know I met you at the gallery in Tyler, and you won Best of Show.
Yes, I did, for Autumn Fog.
For Autumn Fog, and the name of the exhibit was, do you remember?
It was from the inside. It was the artist interpretation of their personal inspiration, what inspired them to do the art that they do. And
Autumn Fog was inspirational, for not only for you, but for the jurors.
Evidently.
Was that a good feeling?
Yes, it was.
It's kind of a nice feeling when you're standing there saying, "Oh well, that's nice."
Yeah, when she called my name, I was aghast. I thought, no, not, you know, I'm standing in a room full of marvelous artists, and my name was called. I was
Best
shocked.
of Show. That was great.
Yes.
And that was at Gallery Main Street in downtown Tyler.
Yes.
And
I've exhibited at Gallery Main Street several times this year. They hold several themed exhibits a year, and they're juried exhibitions where you submit your work, and unknown jury rates your work, and the ones with the high score gets to exhibit in the show.
I love the idea of a jury. I kind of think of them as masked, like the Lone Ranger, wearing the Lone Ranger masks, or some carnival mask, or you can't see who they are. They're invisible. They're hiding behind. Watch the people behind the screen.
Exactly.
So tell me about Autumn Fog.
Well, I took that photograph on the balcony of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's home on Lake Jackson outside of Covington, Georgia. I had gotten up one morning and walked out on the balcony with my morning cup of coffee, and the fog was just rising up off the lake as the sun was rising. It's got a little bit of sunshine over there on the left bank, and it was just so gorgeous a scene. I was hoping I could capture as beautiful as it was onto the print.
And there's just enough fog to make it interesting and not enough to make it scary.
Scary, right. No, it was a beautiful scene. I am constantly amazed at the beauty that nature provides. All I have to do is provide the camera, and nature does the rest.
But she doesn't do it for everybody. Let me tell you.
I know, I'm special.
Just holding a camera. Someone put on the computer this morning or yesterday, a photographer was invited to a dinner party, and the host said, "I love your photographs. You must have a fabulous camera." And the photographer's answer was, "I loved your dinner. You must have a great oven."
That's right. Well, I'll tell you a little secret about Autumn Fog. I actually took that with a Kodak Easy Share camera.
Oh, there's hope for all of us.
That's right. You don't have to have fancy equipment. Currently, I use a Canon T2i, which is a little upgrade from a Kodak EasyShare, but
It's a pretty fancy looking camera, right?
but you
right
can
there.
you can take great pictures with just a instant digital camera, as long as it's got good megapixel to it. You don't have to have a fancy camera to take a good picture, and that's the secret.
I think you've just told the world.
I think I did.
Don't let out secret. Well, you know, think of the cameras that the great photographers had. They were not nearly as precise or
No.
as incredible as the cameras that we have now. And
Like you said, it's like telling the chef you must have a good stove. It's not necessarily the equipment that makes the art.
a good camera couldn't help. It's just like an artist.
You can do a lot more with a good camera, yes.
An artist should have good brushes, because bad brushes will get hairs in your painting every time. But
but that doesn't make a good artist.
I know another photographer who uses a children's camera that has been adapted for her use, and she does incredible photographs. So you like to photograph scenery?
Yes, well, I do scenery, and I love photographing classic automobiles. I find them to be a challenge because the owners always keep them so shiny that it's hard to not capture yourself in the fender. But I also like, just objects like the front porch rocker.
For some reason, this front porch rocker makes me think of the beach. I don't know why.
Probably the plank board, like a boardwalk.
Or maybe when I was any place that had a front porch with rockers, it was at the beach.
Yeah.
So that there's something so homegrown and comfortable about a front porch rocker.
Serene, yes.
Serene, and sitting there, and the breeze comes up, and it doesn't seem like it's 100 degrees out.
Yeah, especially if you have a ceiling fan on the porch.
Oh, that's even better.
That's better.
You didn't photograph the ceiling fan. That's implied.
That's implied. That's
What do you
right.
call the front porch rocker?
Because it's on my front porch.
Oh, well, what do you call the photograph?
Front porch rocker.
How clever! Of course.
Pretty obvious.
Well, you're talking about antique cars, and they keep them so shiny that's a problem. If something's so shiny, you get a picture of the photographer taking the picture in the
or
shiny
reflections
business.
of another vehicle, that you don't really want to take.
Well, you didn't do that. How did you manage not to do that?
If you look closely at the headlight, you will see some cloud reflection. But
Well, I thought that was just kind of a blue tone. Don't tell us it's a cloud
okay,
reflection.
all right, okay.
And, weren't those wonderful cars where they had the sculpture in the front, and you're driving along following that winged sculpture?
It was a status symbol.
The sculpture or the whole car?
Well, the whole car, but to have a hood ornament that ornate was a status symbol.
And back then nobody would rip it off.
No, that's amazing, isn't it?
Well, now people see a nice hood, a nice symbol on the car, and it's not going to be there.
Or wheels.
Or stuff, and it was a much more respectable time where your hood ornament would stay right there on your hood, and you could follow it any place you wanted to go.
Don't we love nostalgia?
Sometimes it gets a whole lot rosier than it was. But you don't always photograph the pristine automobiles. I know I've seen photographs of automobiles old automobiles were not quite this pristine.
What we would term rust buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Those have their own beauty. The rust that gives it an age, a patina, antique feel.
That's really been used.
And like a 42 Ford pickup truck that's sitting in the pasture has just as many memories behind it as a 37 Packard that's all shiny. They both have a nostalgia to them, and lots of memories with them. Being a country girl, I could probably relate more to the rusty 42 Ford pickup than I can the 37 Packard.
Okay, that would make sense. Besides which, they were so long ago that we don't really remember either of those, just except for in photographs.
No, I especially don't.
Absolutely, neither of us does. But that is gorgeous, but I've seen some of the rust buckets. They're equally gorgeous.
Well,
how do you make something that's old and worn and used up look that... Now, nature didn't do that one.
No, but beauty is also in the eye of the beholder. If someone has a special fond memory of a 42 Ford pickup,
That was Grandpa's truck.
that's going to mean something to them when they see a photograph of it. Like I said, personally, I think they're beautiful. I can remember riding in the bed of a pickup truck, you know, growing up, and several other people can too. And I'm hoping that they will relate to that. We always try to produce something that other people will appreciate. Sure, it has a special meaning to the artist at the time the artist created, but we always hope we can extend the feelings to other people when they view it.
I feel that way about my art. I feel it's not complete
Until someone views it.
because when you're creating a work of art, you're saying something. You're speaking with a different language, but you're saying something.
Right.
And if you just make it and hide it under the bed, you ain't said anything to nobody.
No, no. It meant something to you, but you want it to mean something to the world. You won't, or perhaps it's just we crave others' input.
No, there's in a really good work of art. There's a connection by the artist, and there's a connection with the viewer. And when that connection is made, the piece is successful.
Correct.
And otherwise, it's just something. That's what's so fabulous about, like, Michelangelo's paintings or Leonardo's or any great artist paintings. You go and you see the real piece, not a photograph, but the real thing. And it's like that artist is standing there, put his arm around your shoulder and said, "What do you think of my work?"
It evokes an emotion that that you understand as an artist. You know, whenever you see works of art like that, it evokes an emotion in an artist to understand it.
Like the morning fog, it evokes that emotion of, isn't that something?
And isn't that the purpose of art, to evoke an emotion?
Yes, and sometimes not always a good emotion. Sometimes it can be...
It could be sad. It could be depression.
Or anger.
Or anger, correct.
But you have to feel something. You don't just...
That's the purpose of art, to feel something.
And so often people want something for their homes that has no feeling.
Well, they just want it to match the couch.
Well, I don't want stuff to clash with the couch. You know, I don't understand that.
But that's all they're looking for, is the same color scheme. They're not looking for something that has meaning behind it. They're just looking for the color.
But if someone should back into a work of art that happens to match the sofa, somebody will react to it.
Yeah.
I think about someone I knew who had a very fine painting, who owned actually a Renoir, and they bought it for reasons of investment. But their youngest child would sit for hours staring at the painting.
Amazing.
It had a connection. The painting was not useless. It did relate to somebody, and that child grew up loving that painting.
That's
and really
wonderful.
responding to it. So somebody, the maid, you know, the children, somebody will walk past and there'll be that connection. Now tell me about the painting on the photograph on the easel.
Well,
It looks like a painting.
That was taken in Cass County, Texas, which is where I grew up.
Where's that?
Cass County, it is north of Marshall,
Okay,
between Marshall and Texarkana,
gotcha.
in northeast Texas. Now that is actually a photograph, but it's been printed onto stretch canvas, which is something that I offer. In addition to the prints, we can also stretch them on canvas. And it's called a giclée print, which is a relatively new technology. They didn't come up with the term till like the early 1990s. And
They didn't come up with the giclée prints till then either.
yeah, so, well, they just made up a word instead of inkjet. It's a fancy inkjet printer. Instead of having like your standard 5 colors, it's got 7 colors, which gives it a a richness of the color. But I call that print there lone oak.
Because
And it's a lone oak tree.
You
And
have such poetic titles. Lone oak.
lone oak, front porch rocker. But that one has meaning to me because of the locale. And I just thought it would look good on canvas because it reminds me of a painting.
It does. It looks very much like it could be a painting.
The composition looks painterly, so I thought it might look good on stretch canvas.
And somehow the stretch canvas, because we think of paintings beyond certain,
Right.
it connects in your head, this is a painting, this is not a photograph.
I've had a lot of people say, look at it closely and
Where are
say,
the
is that a
brushstrokes?
painting? Yeah, where's the brushstrokes? But it's a print on stretch canvas.
That is a new technology, isn't it?
It adds a new dimension to photography. They've also come up now with an acrylic print, which is covered heavily in acrylic, and it gives a depth of color to the print. And also kind of gives it a more modern, contemporary, edgy look. And so there's new technology coming out every day and new ways to enhance your images.
Have you embraced the new technology? Do you like this concept?
I am so trying. I'm so learning. I do like the digital age. I do like that I can go out and take 1,000 pictures, and if I don't like 500 of them, then I haven't wasted the film. That's wonderful.
And hours in the dark room.
Yes, yes.
And the chemicals that burn your hands.
And then these are so much easier to share with the world because you just upload them on the computer and you can go anywhere in the world off of that. I do like photo editing programs.
What kind of photo editing programs do you use?
Well, I'm not into Photoshop. I do GIMP and ArtSoft impressions. Those are both free programs. Whereas Photoshop, you have to buy the software, and then you still have to be tutored on how to use it. With GIMP, I can do as much as you can with Photoshop, as far as layers and textures and so forth. But I like photo editing programs for the simple fact that instead of having to use black and white film, for instance, to get that picture of front porch rocker, it was actually shot in color and then desaturated in a photo editing program. On this one here, it was taken at a car show in Gladewater. The background I simply cut out, created a faux background in a photo editing software.
How cool. I was going to ask you how you got that car against that wonderful red background.
I made the background and I cut the original background out and pasted.
Cut and paste is so good.
Cut and paste.
It is so good.
So that, that's why I like digital
you can do
photo editing, is because otherwise I would have had to have that Packard in a studio with that background to get that picture. And I could accomplish the same effect with a photo editing program.
And some people, they're purists. And this is the thing they do. They spend hours setting up a image, a still life or a portrait or anything, hours setting it up.
Which is fabulous, but we don't have to now. If we would embrace the technology that's available, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be in a dark room with the chemicals.
And have all the facility of a dark room, which is not
That's right.
which is not inexpensive.
Or a studio large enough to hold a 37 Packard.
Which is not inexpensive.
Yeah. So, photo editing and technology, I need to embrace, and I need to learn more about.
Well, I think everybody does. This is the company. Now there are people who still use a wet lab,
Yes.
and who still use earlier photography things because that's what they're comfortable with, or it gives them a different kind of image. It can give them something that they are looking for.
Right.
But if you're looking for the 21st century, which unfortunately or fortunately is where we are right now,
Yes. You have to embrace it if you're going to grow and continue.
And things change. Do you find things changing rapidly?
Too rapidly at times.
I'm talking about photography, not about people.
Everything.
Everything is changing too rapidly. I have a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone. I have a silly, dumb phone that doesn't know. I have an ignorant phone.
A smartphone would be much smarter than I am.
My ignorant phone is smarter than I am. It does tricks I don't know how to do, but that's okay.
It does what you need.
My son says I really need a phone with a rotary dial. But
well, at least you're with the rotary and not the crank.
oh, he doesn't know about those. Don't tell him. So you were able to cut and paste in order to get that image. Can you soften and make things harder, make things crisper?
Yes, yes. That's all part of the photo editing software. You know, part of the beauty of it.
Well, I know you do cars. I know you do images and incredible landscapes. Do you ever do portraits?
No, I'm not. I'm not into the portraits. I would rather photograph stuff and items and landscapes. People are not something that I'm particularly interested in photographing. Now, there are great photographs with pictures, with people in them, that evoke emotion, that are artistic. But that's just not where my passion leads me.
That's perfectly reasonable. Besides which, people never like their pictures.
That's true.
They always think they should look like they're 18 and and in perfect condition. And if they're not, if they look like they really look, they're not going to be. It's going to be the photographer's fault.
Yeah. Oh yes.
But landscapes don't argue with you.
Yeah, they don't argue about whether or not you took their photograph properly.
Mm-hmm. And cars very seldom complain.
No.
Do the owners complain?
No, not really. They enjoy having their vehicles photographed. It makes them feel important that someone is interested enough to take a photograph of their vehicle.
Well, when you've got an antique car like this Packard, you have worked and worked and worked yourself to death over it. Look at the polish on that car. Somebody has really, really stood out there with...
They spend a lot of time on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to know that their work's appreciated as well. That all the time and effort they put into making it look that shiny is appreciated.
And they want to show those pictures to everybody.
Oh yeah. And I'll let them.
And you'll let them. What is the latest piece you've been working on? What are you working on this week?
Well, I just posted...
That's a bad question, I'm sorry.
That is awful. I posted just recently a ladybug that's on a leaf. And as she's crawling up the leaf, there are two leaves that are crisscrossed beside her. And I titled it At the Crossroad. Because if you've ever watched a bug crawl on a leaf, when they get to a crossroad, it's like, do I go left? Do I go right?
It's sort of like me, I don't have directions.
That's right. We're all at a crossroad at some point in our life. But that was my recent one that I posted, was a ladybug.
And so you don't mind doing portraits of bugs?
No, I like bugs. Spiders I'm not real fond of.
Oh, they make interesting webs. Wouldn't that be a great photograph?
Well, yeah, they do.
Before they have caught anything in it.
But I'm not a spider person.
Well, didn't you read Charlotte's Web?
Well, yes, but she was a cartoon spider. We're talking about photographing real life spiders that jump.
I'm not a pig, so I didn't care about Charlotte's Web that much. But yeah, I don't like bugs much. I was trying to photograph, we have some plants that butterflies love. And there were 4 butterflies, and I thought, I'm going to get a picture of these butterflies.
They fly faster than you can run.
And they were sitting there, they were buzzing around, they were sitting there. I went and got my camera. The minute they saw the camera, zoom, they took off.
Yeah, they're called butterflies for a reason. It's because they fly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Birds are like that too.
Yeah, they ought to call them bird flies.
Yes, because the minute they see a camera, they're going to fly away.
That's right.
Have you ever photographed birds?
I really need a better lens for that type of photography. I don't have a telephoto lens that's strong enough to really get out there and get close. And something like that, if you try to crop it in photo editing, then you
Get
lose,
mush.
yeah, you lose the pixelation to it. So I really need to get a better telephoto lens before I go into the wildlife photography again.
There was a deer across the street from our house 2 nights ago, and he was so gorgeous.
Yes.
He just came up out of the woods and was standing there posing, and I thought, oh, Betty could get a photograph of this. And then he was not going to wait for a camera. It was too dark.
Oh no,
anyway.
he would jump off too.
He'd be leaving, but he was so beautiful. Do you ever just see something, well, like this scene? Do you ever just see something and say, that is so beautiful, I have to capture that?
Yes, and I think I've done that all my life. Actually, I can remember as a child riding with my mother, and we would have a conversation about, oh, look at that tree, look at that field, look at that hill. If we could just, frame it, wouldn't that be beautiful? And so I do that every time I drive down a country lane.
If I could just frame that.
If I could just frame that, how pretty would that be? We live in such a beautiful area with the rolling
Yes.
hills and the trees, and in the spring, all the flowers. If we could just slow down and look at them.
Instead of zapping past on the interstate.
Yes, yes, just slow down and look at it. And I'm hoping that's what my photography will do for people. Make them slow down and look at the beauty that's right before them.
Nature has spread it out right in
That's
front
if
of
we
your
would just
eyes,
stop and look.
and all you need to do is stop and enjoy it.
The saying, stop and smell the roses.
Have you done any roses?
We need to. We need to just slow down and look.
And do you sometimes just stop the car and get out and take some photographs?
Yes, and I've stopped the car abruptly and bashed my husband's head on the dash a few times.
Oh, that's a little bit abrupt.
Because I will see something as we're driving past at 60 miles an hour, and I'll go, whoa. And he'll say, what did you see?
That's the problem of living with artists.
Yes.
They'll do that to you. And
Never know when the moment's going to hit.
But whoever lives with an artist has a perfect halo and deserves every minute of it.
That's right. All the accolades they can get.
And thank you so much for visiting with us,
Thank you for
Betty.
having me.
I think everybody in Longview and Kilgore is going to have a really good time hearing from you.
I hope so.
And would you encourage them to go out and take some pictures too?
That's right. They ought to. Stop and smell the roses.
Absolutely. It's been good visiting with you. We have been visiting with Betty Green Northcutt, photographer, and Jan Statman. This is Scene. Thank you for joining us. Come back and see us again. Bye now.